ready. Start just to again thank you guys for coming, and really appreciate every Monday you guys come and when you come after practice and show interest in our program. So again, I want to thank you guys for that. We're in a normal routine, and just a normal routine on Monday. I'll just give you a quick review again of the game on Saturday after I got a chance to review it as a staff and watch the film. Talk a little bit about the next opportunity, the next game, and then take questions from there. Just to start by giving my thoughts on Saturday's game after reviewing the film. Not a lot different than how I felt Saturday. Standing here before you after the game, was disappointed in the way the game looked and felt, not in all areas, not in all three phases, but overall disappointed. When you get the first game of the year, I felt that we made huge strides in a lot of areas. It felt better, looked better. We played better, even though it was a loss. It felt really good about it. You usually, as a coach, you really hope that you make a steady improvement from week 1 to week 2. Unfortunately, we took steps back in week 2, and that's the disappointing thing for us as a program. That's myself as the head coach, our staff, the players. Everybody's disappointed because we didn't obviously plan on that or prepare that way, but that's the way it turned out on Saturday. Encouraged by several things that did happen in that game. One, I think defensively we continue to play pretty good defense. I think our rush defense is improved from last year. We're still playing really tight coverage, forcing the quarterback to make throws in tight windows and challenge receivers. And that's the style of defense that we want to play, and we'll continue to do so. We do have to start creating more turnovers and getting takeaways on defense. We did get the one with the fumble, which was a timely fumble, but we need more than that, and that's an area that we need to get better at. Special teams wise, I think there were a lot of improvements also in that phase of the game. Start with our place kicker. We made 2 field goals, made our extra points, so we were 3 for 3 on our kicking opportunities there. I thought our kickoff coverage was pretty good. We were kicking into a really stiff wind every time we went out on kickoff coverage, but we had pretty good hang time and pretty good coverage, and there were very few yards on the returns from that standpoint. Had big plays on punt return and kickoff return. We gave the offense the ball in positive field position on their side of the 50 in that game, so those are all things that we look for with our special teams. Offensively, we just struggled to get into a rhythm. We had some positive moments in the game. We'd get on a roll a little bit, and then we would lose it. And we just couldn't consistently execute or perform the way that we want to. Disappointed in that, and that's something that we've got to get figured out on how to do that moving forward, because coming out of the Washington game, I would have felt like we were in a rhythm and doing some good things. Again, we took a step back on Saturday. Looking ahead to the next opportunity, we've got a game here against Morgan State next Saturday. We have to get better. I mean, that's what it is. We looked at that after game 1, and unfortunately we didn't do it in all phases, but we have to get that done this week and next Saturday against Morgan State. But we practiced yesterday. We come in on Sundays. We meet, we watch the film, we go out and practice. And after that practice, I feel just as positive about this football team right now today as I did before we started, because of the response that I saw from these players. They're upset, they're disappointed. They went out and had a very focused practice yesterday, flushed that out of our system, and we moved our focus on to the next opportunity to go out and play and get better. If we wouldn't have approached it that way, I would have been nervous, but I feel very positive about our ability to bounce back and continue to improve and go play really good football this year, based on what I saw yesterday from this program and how we responded to the challenge that we had on Saturday. Just quickly, a staff update. Just want to inform everybody on this. Yesterday, Coach Kill had a minor medical setback. He's going to be fine. Saturday in the game, early in the game after the first drive, got tumbled up on Kyle's late hit on the sideline. Was really discombobulated a little bit in the first half from it. Had some headaches Saturday night, and not this isn't confirmed or not necessarily been identified as the reason yet, but had a minor seizure yesterday morning. But he's fine. He's still waiting to get released from the hospital, but he'll either be back here, this afternoon or tomorrow, whenever he feels up to the task. But it's a minor setback, and fully anticipate he'll be back with us here shortly after he recovers from it. But no concerns about him not being able to do that, just so we're all clear. He feels great. It's one of those things where life situations or medical situations come up with a lot of people. And, this happened yesterday. So with that, I'll go ahead and open up for questions and move forward.
So just to be clear, no concern about him coaching this weekend?
No, not right now today. Unless something came from a doctor, or, he needed more time to recover. Right now his focus is on getting back with our football team. Our focus is on getting better in our next opponent, and right now nobody is even thinking about that.
Who runs the offense in practice, or if you got to a game and he wasn't there?
The whole staff. I mean, it's a staff effort. And it's always been a staff effort. I'm a defensive coordinator. That's the way it is. As a coordinator, you got a really good staff. The coordinator is a coordinator by title. He sets the meeting times, and ultimately he has to make the final decisions. But when it comes to practice preparation, game planning, it's a team effort. And I think the offensive staff has done an outstanding job working together as a team effort. Game planning is going as normal. Here yesterday, last night, and today, so there haven't been any hiccups or adjustments from that standpoint. We've obviously, because of the medical history of Jerry, we've had contingency plans in place. If something like this were to happen and there was a long-term situation that would cause him to miss work, right now we're pretty confident and feel like that's not going to be the case.
From a quarterback psyche standpoint, Kyle Boland, did you have to have a conversation with him how to pick the pieces from that game?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle's a mature guy. I mean, he knows he didn't play a very good game. He'll be the first to admit it. I think he did after the game. And he watched the film, and just like a real guy would do when it's over, if you didn't play very well, you own it. And that's what I like about Kyle. If he didn't handle it that way, I'd be concerned. But that's not the way he handled it. He knows it. He knows he's got to play better. He wants to play better. We got, as coaches, we got to help him, do that. And the pieces around him got to help him do that too. We got to play better at the offensive line position. We got to play better at receiver. We've talked about that before. It's not just the one position. Unfortunately, as the quarterback, you're the one that gets all the glory or all the blame. That's life, and he gets that. It's not his first rodeo. He gets it. But for him to play better, we have to play better up front. We didn't play up front like we had the week before. We stood here after the Washington game talking about, it was probably the best game our offensive line had played. Can't say that about week 2. And that's disappointing. It hurt us in the run game, and Kyle took more shots, not necessarily sacks, but more hits in the game against Eastern Michigan than he did against Washington. We can't have that.
Coach, you said after the game you wanted to watch the film to talk more about Boland's performance. What do you think after seeing it, and what areas does he need to improve upon?
Just like I mentioned, it's not just Kyle. I mean, the whole offense. If I'm a quarterback and I'm worried about getting hit, I'm not going to perform as well if I'm feeling pretty comfortable back there. And he took more shots and got hit more in this game than he had in the Washington game. He's got to get used to that. It hasn't happened to him in a while. Probably forced some throws and made some decisions that he'd like to take back. He had some bright spots and some good spots, and he had some spots that he wishes he could have played better. We all do. But it's not just him, and that we have to, as a staff, evaluate again, what we're asking, our offensive line to do, our quarterbacks to do, and make sure that we can do it consistently and continue to improve from week to week. And that's probably the 2 areas that we feel probably most disappointed in, that our O-line and quarterbacks took a step back, after game 1. We'll get back. Like I said, I'm as positive as I've ever been about our ability to get that done based on what I saw on film and how I saw our players respond yesterday.
Chris, going back to Jerry. Ironic that this happened a week after we talked about him, whether he's downstairs or upstairs. Is there any thought of seeing what happened to him, what potentially happened, if he does move, or will he stay down the field?
We'll have those conversations later. I mean, those are always in the back of my mind. We've had lengthy conversations about those issues all the way up to this point. Really the safest place on the sideline is standing behind the offense. And when you watch the film, he was about 7 yards out in front of the ball. And as Kyle, scrambled on the 3rd and 10 play, got hit. It actually was an Eastern Michigan player that ran into Jerry, and then he fell on top of another one. So that's how it happened. But he was out actually in front of the ball in the safest place on the sidelines behind, and I think he figured out after that play he needs to stay behind the offense, and that's what he did primarily, from what I saw the rest of the game. We'll have those conversations moving forward if we feel that that's the best thing for him and for our offense.
Coach, Miles Nash played both on tight end and on the defensive line.
You saw that, huh?
Yeah. What was the reason behind that? And you
Depth.
continue?
It's depth. We had some injuries come up on the D-line, and we had some depth issues, and we didn't know if we needed to play him or not in the game, but just the way the game played, with the tempo and the reps that we were having, especially in the first half, we needed him. And Miles has worked on defense some in training camp. You guys had asked a question before about Miles going over and playing some defense earlier. Well, we were trying to find out what the best position would be, and we were also trying to get him some work in case we got into this type of scenario. We can go out and play with one tight end or no tight ends on offense at times, but we can't go out and play with two defensive linemen. We need to make sure we've got enough out there. To his credit, he's stayed in tune to what we're doing defensively. He's gotten some reps, and actually went out there and did a pretty good job. Really proud of him, his growth and maturity as an individual and as a player, and his willingness to do whatever he needs to help our football team play. It's a great credit to that kid.
Chris, are you and Vince at all worried that teams might try to copycat Eastern Michigan, what they did with the quarterback playing on fourth down, just to try to take Jadarian kind of out of the game? I'm not asking what you would do, but are you going to try to maybe do things to combat that?
Oh, we're all set to combat. We had a plan to do it after we figured out what Eastern Michigan was doing, in the game. It never came up again, but my hat's off to them. They did a great job. It's smart, We figured out when it was like 4th and 10 that they weren't going for it. That's what they were going to do. But that's not necessarily something that we were prepared to have happen in that game. As the game went on, and it happened a couple times, we knew exactly what we were going to do. So we have a plan for that if that happens again. Which I'd be surprised if it doesn't.
We'll take 2 more questions.
Chris, the secondary, I think they give up. You mentioned the defense playing pretty well especially in the red zone, but out of the red zone, they gave up a couple long passes now in the first 2 games and a couple pass interference plays.
They don't bother me at all.
No.
I'm a defensive back coach. Been doing it for a long time. We play an aggressive style. We have to finish a little bit better on some balls. A couple times we had a post safety that needs to get back in the middle on some deep balls. But pass interference calls, as long as we're playing aggressive, they're going to happen. What we're not going to do is back off and play soft and let them continue to nickel and dime us in front of us and chip away. That way, we're going to make a quarterback have to beat us. There's a couple parts of it. I think we're playing the run a lot better right now. So when you do that, what are offenses naturally going to start to do? Take more shots. And this game, I watch Eastern Michigan's offense against us. They basically were almost a carbon copy of what Indiana did to us last year. If you remember the Indiana game, they did a lot of 7-man protections, 3-man routes, protected the quarterback through the fade or back shoulder fades. This was almost identical. They have some of those same components in their offense anyway, but it was pretty evident to me that they must have studied that game from last year, which everyone's going to, and their offense is almost identical to what Indiana's was, and did the same thing. So yeah, it'll continue to come up. But am I concerned about it? No, I have complete faith in our whole secondary, especially 3 corners that are playing to do what we ask them to do. Look at our pass defense last year. We finished like 18th in the country, and I don't anticipate us taking a big dip from that this year.
You fell behind 14-0 to Howard last year. You've seen Howard.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, the point is Howard won, to open the season. Is that enough incentive to, I know it's Morgan State, but is that enough incentive to, allow this team not to take this?
Just so we're all clear, there's not one game that we're going to prepare for differently. We're not going to have a lack of respect for. You know, I know a lot of people may think that that's what happened against Eastern Michigan. That's not what happened against Eastern Michigan. We had a good week of preparation. I thought our players were focused. At the end of the day, we didn't make the plays that we needed to. They did. It was not one of our better performances like we want. But we're not going to slight Morgan State. We didn't slight Eastern Michigan. You know, we do use comparisons. You know, Howard beat UNLV, you know, the other day, or the week one, I believe it was, which was, somebody told me like one of the biggest upsets in terms of point spread or something like that. I don't even know what all that is, but that's what I was told. But that, you know, we're focused on our football team. We have to get better. We have to take pride in our performance. We have to take pride in our consistency in our performance, and that's our goal. You know, that's what, you know, we call it the mystery. How, you know, every coach's, you know, mystery is how do you get your team to perform, take pride in that performance, and do it consistently every snap and every game, regardless of who you play, where you play, and what the situation is. We did not do that last week. Our focus is we have to get that done this week.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.
Chris.
Take care.